Welcome back. I'm Katy McKinney, the founder and head of school for Lafayette Academy, and we are on the Lady K podcast. And today we have a fabulous guest with us, Mr. John Schweizer, who teaches both PE and our higher level math. Well, you've taught a lot of math at Lafayette, but he's going to be doing the upper end this year, and we're thrilled to have him. We're going to talk today about fitness and the importance of that. My first question, though, I know you're going into your sixth year, right?
Yes.
And your kid's sixth year, seventh year? Seventh year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun. But I remember when you came in the first year and you were holding Johnny in your arms. That was, I think, one of your first encounters with classical ed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What kind of attracted you to that model to begin with?
To be honest, I didn't know anything about classical education. We were in the public school system. Our kids attended Craig Elementary and the Parkway School District. And for the first couple of years, it was great. We had a principal that focused on character education, and there was a lot of discussion of the correct way to behave in certain situations. That principal unfortunately left to go to a school that was closer to where he lived. And we got a new principal, and it just seemed like overnight, the focus on character education disappeared. And then as my children got older, I have 4 children. My eldest is Ellie, and she was in 3rd grade, and she started to come home and say, Dad, we are learning something that I've already learned, that we learned in 2nd grade, that we learned in 1st grade, and we're just kind of repeating the same information. And it started off with that, and I was like, well, maybe they're just kind of reviewing things before they move further. And then as kind of the year progressed, I could tell that she was just less focused or less interested in learning, less curious. She was getting upset. She was really just not enjoying the school. And eventually it actually came to the point where she was crying almost every night. And as a father, that was like, you have to ask, like, what can I do to change that?
And I figured you knew this was not her normal. This is not her.
No, this was not her. She enjoys life. She has a zest for it.
A voracious learner.
So we contacted the school. We contacted the teacher, and we said, hey, look, this is what we're seeing at home. We want to know what's going on. We didn't get a very strong response. We got an email saying, yeah, we're going to take care of this. We're going to give her this and this and this. And then nothing happened, right? There was no follow through. And Ellie just kept, she was in the gifted program, but that was, I don't remember, maybe an hour a week where it was separate from her classroom. She was not being challenged. And then we find out that there's like a kid threatening her every day. And so we talked to the school about that, and nothing happened to the kid. And so we just decided we need to find something else. We have the resources, we have the ability, we can move anywhere in the city, we could go to any school. But I went to private school, and I looked at a lot of the private schools, but they just seemed to be better dressed versions of the public schools. They were doing all the same things and had all the same philosophies and approaches. And in fact, sometimes it looked like the public schools were really the ones innovating, and then you could get information from the public schools, where the private schools were like, hey, you need to come visit us to get any information. And so we just didn't think that was a great return on investment for the amount some of these schools charge. And our friend, Rachel Ferguson, said, hey, I just visited this classical school. And we had a great deal of respect for Rachel Ferguson's intelligence and knowledge about education. And so my wife, Kristen, went and visited. And she came back and she told me what was happening. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go and visit. And so I went and visited, and I saw a day, and I still remember you guys were in a strip mall, right?
Yeah.
In a commercial building. It's not what I expected. And then the kids were cleaning.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I was like, what a great idea, right? I mean, we kind of make things so easy. And I had a friend tell me the hardest thing I ask my children to do is pick up her clothes off of the bedroom floor. And kids aren't designed to be so little, like have so little value in the home, I guess is how I should put it. They need to feel important. And to see kids cleaning, they were learning a skill. They were learning the difference between a good job and a bad job and things of that nature. And the attitudes, there was no complaining. There was no whining. There was no, I mean, they accepted that this is a part of life.
Yeah.
And the fact is it is a part of life. Yeah. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be cleaning bathrooms at some point. Like you just have to put on any hat that you need to. And to see kids who are not looking entitled, and doing that, and also still getting a great education throughout the day. I mean, I thought that was just such a beautiful thing. And so I come home, right, and I talk to my wife, and I call my parents, and they were like, well, that's how we were educated, was classically. And so they explained to me what classical education was.
Interesting.
And, I was like, well, I don't know about the amount of infrastructure because I was used to a school with a lot more.
It's very non-traditional.
Right. But when we decided to send our kids there and see how it went, and the flourishing was instantaneous. It really was. I wasn't a teacher there at the time.
That's right. It was the first year. Yep. It was pre-COVID.
So pre-COVID. So my 4 kids were going there. My son Johnny,
kindergarten at that year,
was reading within 3 months.
Yeah,
and Charlie, it took almost to first grade before he was reading. And so I was like, there's a difference in how things are being taught here. And then it's just gotten better and better every year.
Well, and I think that foundation that you laid, and I would say too, as a parent, not even as an administrator, but as a parent, I have felt the same thing with my kids, that this foundation, literally this mental character foundation that's being built, it's an infrastructure that just continues to grow as they continue to amass knowledge. And I just think of myself at 14, 15, 16, and I just was in such a different place. And I, the reason I started the school was I've thought, I want the abuse to stop here. I didn't get this kind of an education, but I darn well, I'm going to make sure my kids do. So let's shift now to PE. I remember scribing an email to all the parents after COVID and saying, or maybe it was pre-COVID, and saying, hey, we need a PE teacher. Right. And I was expecting people to say, oh, I know so-and-so, I know so-and-so. But you send me a dissertation back that was super beautiful, frankly, about PE and your love of it. And so what caused you to raise your hand and say, I'll help you teach PE?
So my PE teacher as a kid, her name was Jerry Lamprecht. And I remember we started every class running a quarter mile. And then we do some other stretches and physical activities. And I also remembered a Presidential Physical Fitness Award. And I was an athletic kid. And so I remember I got the, blue patch every single year, except for fifth grade. Fifth grade, I was supposed to do 11 pull-ups, and I got up to 8. Never got to 11. And I remember there was several girls in my class who had no problems doing 11 pull-ups. And so I was like, oh, what's going on here? But the fact is that they had higher strength to weight ratios than I did.
That's right. At that age, that's shifting there. Yeah.
And so I never ended up. I got very close. But my PE teacher was always encouraging me, always saying like, okay, we'll try it again. We'll try it again. She was really big into getting people to where they needed to be. So my brother Wyatt, who was an incredible runner, and she found a cross-country team. It was a girls' cross-country team, no boys. And my brother Wyatt was the first boy on there because my PE teacher kept calling the coach saying, hey, I've got this great boy runner. And they ended up getting a whole boys cross-country team, starting with that just seed, and I joined it, and suddenly all these other boys were there running cross-country. And, you know, it's not my favorite thing to run cross country, but it is a great sport.
So it was her influence that really supported your love of athletics and fitness?
Yeah, so that certainly it made me an athlete. Her, you know, her getting us into soccer, getting us into basketball, finding sports teams for us, but also in the PE program, keeping us fit so that we could do those sports, right? So we're not having to do a bunch of other things to qualify. We were already fit because of her PE program. And so
it sounds like you were just really prepared because of that program.
We were. And she was just an amazing PE teacher. And when I had kids, that was what I kind of expected for my own children. And I'm afraid the first year I was not seeing that for the PE. I saw it in a lot of stuff, but the PE, I was not seeing it as much.
And I have to be honest, because you know, as you're building a school, of course, you get all the core things, and PE and music and art is kind of like, oh, we'll do the best we can, right? But that was never my vision to do the best you can. It was to be the best in every single subject matter. And so when you raised your hand, that was very exciting to me. But I have to say, even growing up, PE was not impressive. Let's put it that way. And I kind of took it as just a check, get it done, and no big deal. And even today, I mean, I've observed other public high school, you know, PE classes, and there's music playing, kids are just hanging out, they're chatting, they might be playing volleyball. It's a joke, to be honest. I mean, it was a joke when I grew up, and it's kind of been a joke since then. And so to think back to the Presidential Fitness, you know, award or certificate, whatnot, that was a very different era. And today what we're seeing is quite a different picture. So how is our PE? Because you have done something very different, which frankly now I do respect PE. I mean, the kids that go through your program, they're so different. They come out differently. They change as an individual for the better. What is it though that you have done that you would say is the antithesis of what current culture is doing in PE?
Well, I think it all started with a foundation that if I'm not doing some exercise every day, then I'm not going to be my best version of myself.
Why? What does that mean?
Well, I'm more likely to be grumpy or crabby or just not as focused. You know, I notice it like even when we go to long shoots.
You mean for shooting sports?
Yeah, shooting sports. You know, when we were in Ohio, it's just there's not as many opportunities to exercise as I otherwise would like. And I come back, or when we were in Ames Grand, I was doing a lot of driving. Just not as much time to get some exercise done. And just even 2 days, I can notice changes where I'm more irritable, I'm less focused, I'm less driven to do anything productive that day.
I did notice you were a little more irritable. No, so you notice even within yourself.
Yes.
And so you're thinking, for kids, it's probably the same.
Right. And so I, looked into what would a classical PE program look like. And very early on, I found The Motivation Factor, which is a documentary that was available on Amazon Prime. And I purchased it and I watched it, and I was just blown away with how a PE program could be. And this was before I started anything. And so I was blown away, and I said, this is what I think, this is my vision. This is what it should look like, is fit people improving in their fitness so that they can do whatever it is that they want to, which frankly is what classical education and liberal arts are really about. It's giving them the tools so they can choose how to apply those tools, where to take their focus and concentration and abilities to succeed in life. And if we have to do that with our brains, we absolutely have to do it with our bodies as well. If we want to swim, or if we want to dance, or if we want to play soccer, or if we want to do cheer, or we want to do gymnastics, we need ability with our bodies, capabilities. And so the first year I came in and I said, okay, first class, we're running a mile. I had a couple of kids hiding behind trees.
What age group?
That was, oh man, I think that was.
Were you doing this with everybody?
Yeah, I did it with everybody.
Okay.
The first class for everybody. It didn't matter whether they were in kindergarten or
I didn't know they were hiding
seventh
behind
grade.
trees. Okay.
You know, and I have friends who are teachers and they're saying, John, you're crazy. You can't do that. Kindergartners can't run miles. They're going to hate sports. They're going to hate exercise. And, you know, what I found is the kindergartners are the ones who love it.
They do, and they beat everyone.
Yeah, they have no problems running a mile, and once they think this is normal, they get at it. They go after it. They do it. It was the kids who had spent 4 years, you know, stacking cups or whatever they do in some of these other PE programs.
Yeah,
who are like, why isn't this just all fun? Yeah. And it's like, well, there are going to be times when you have to do things that aren't fun.
Yeah.
So that you can get what you want in the future. That is fun.
Yeah. Hillsdale has the motto, strength rejoices in the challenge. Mm-hmm. And the McKinney family has a saying that it's McKinneys do hard things. And I love that we are adopting sort of that mentality at our school that we are okay doing hard things. And in fact, hopefully we like doing hard things. And I feel like that's what's being cultivated. It's okay. You're not going to break.
Right.
You know, Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Anxious Generation, talks so much about our kids today. We act as though they're so fragile and they're going to break if we don't, you know, give them everything they need.
When the exact opposite is true.
Absolutely.
When having a certain, not too much, but a certain amount of stress will actually make them so much stronger and show so much more of what they can do and who they can be.
So go back for me. So you've got the motivation factor as an inspiration. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the ancients. If we stretch back to the Greeks, you know, what was their view? And that's obviously we teach all about the ancients in our school. So how does that connect to PE?
Yeah, there's a line, I believe it was Herodotus, who was talking about the Peloponnesian War, and the Persians are coming to attack the Spartans. And what they find is, you know, 300 Spartans, and they're doing calisthenics. You know, they're doing push-ups and dips and jumping jacks and things of that nature. And I, you know, just when I looked at kind of the foundation of where gymnasium came from. All right. And they have a picture where there's this tree of knowledge, and the trunk is gymnasium and musicanum. I don't know if the second one is right. Mm-hmm, I'm focused on the first. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and that is from which everything else kind of depends on. And I try and kind of glibly say, like, if you want a healthy brain, you're going to want a healthy body. We're not just separate. We can't just pull the brain out or something like that. If we're going to be able to do everything we want to mentally, which absolutely is a worthy goal. I'm not just exercising for the sake of exercising. Right. I'm exercising to support academics. I'm exercising to support energy levels and attention and the concrete feeling of doing something hard and overcoming that. The feeling of getting stronger to lift a weight that was a struggle yesterday can be just such an inspirational thing. And for whatever reason, I feel like it's a little bit more, I guess it's obvious that it's more concrete when it's a physical thing versus, remember when 9 times 7 used to be hard for you? And people are like, actually, no, I can't really remember when 9 times 7 used to be hard for me. I feel like I've always known it. But the advancement just seems to go a lot faster and be more concrete with the physical side, and it can be applied to the learning side.
So we're taking lessons learned from the ancients and starting to resurrect that for today, I would say.
Well, the ancients, they had something like 3 hours of PE a day or gymnastics. And of course, they had a much more obvious duty to, as a citizen, right, to defend their city-states. And so part of it was just learning how to be a soldier, which we don't have things like that. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or not. But if somebody wants to be a soldier, they should certainly be fit enough by the time.
Well, and obviously the benefits for us as a school, you've kind of touched on some of those already, but attention, honestly, elasticity, clarity of thinking, so behaviors, like negative behaviors, seem to go way down for schools who are doing this. But so we have, I think you have really laid the foundation, laid the inspiration. I was always supportive of the PE program, but something got me. I think we also watched The Motivation Factor. That really got my attention. I wish I had done that years ago, but I finally did it. Sat down. My boys, 16 and 12. Their jaws dropped when they saw, they said, these kids are 18? I mean, these are like Ninja Warrior kids, but there are like 100 of them.
One. It was,
there were hundreds of them. So we then had this conversation. We said, hey, what can we do more? You took it and ran. So talk to us about what we're doing this fall that's going to be totally different for our school.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the great things about the Motivation Factor is they're talking about a school called La Sierra, and they were one of the few schools that had a daily PE program. So the boys...
And this is when? Back in the 60s?
Back in the 60s.
Okay.
And they spent every single day, I don't know the time, 30 minutes or so, physically active every single day of the school week. I think right now, something like 2% of high schools in the country have a daily physical fitness program. Obviously not many. It's not considered important when we're trying to learn mathematics. And of course, one of the issues there is to learn mathematics, daily physical activity will absolutely help. But going into that a little bit later, we are going to start doing 20 minutes of physical fitness every morning. And in the Motivation Factor, they interview a person named Dr. John Rady. And I've immediately grabbed his book that's called Spark, and it talks about the effect of physical activity on the brain. He's one of the foremost researchers on how physical activity affects the brain in all these different positive ways. And I read the book and I was like, okay, this is what my kids and as many kids as I can get need to do. And so we're going to start 20 minutes every single morning.
This is good. I need to know what we're doing here.
As soon as we get to school, and we're going
So we're coming in gym clothes to school.
Coming in gym clothes to school. And we're going to split up into groups based on ability levels. And different teachers are going to lead them. And there'll be different things that we do. But the most common thing is we're just going to jog 1/10 of a mile. And then we might do 10 air squats. And then jog 1/10 of a mile. And then do a stretch of some sort and jog 1/10 of a mile. We're just going to take 20 minutes, kind of intersperse some light cardio with some basic calisthenics and strength training. And this is going to grow the kids' library or the students' library in all these different physical movements. It's going to kind of wake them up. As soon as they get to school, they're going to have to do something that causes them to wake up. It's going to get the blood flowing. It's going to get the heart pumping. It's going to hopefully break just a little bit of a sweat. We're not trying to exhaust them, right? We're not getting them to the point where, where
they're
my
collapsing.
Wrestling coach used to like to take me where I feel like I'm going to throw up at any second.
Yeah.
That's not the goal. We're getting them to the point where they're energized, burning those first few calories, getting things jump started. And all that starts with just a little bit of activity and getting the heart pumping. And it starts this hormonal cascade in our bodies that creates something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this stuff, when it's poured onto a neuron in a lab, it makes the synapses grow like crazy. And so any neuron can make 10,000 to 20,000 connections. All right. Well, let's imagine if we have this neuron that's 10,000 connections, and this is not exactly how the brain works, but we grow it to 15,000 connections, or we myelinate it more, or something along those lines. And learning should, that's what we're expecting. Is we're expecting to see learning just catapult forward because kids are awake.
But they have to start with getting that blood pumping, that heart rate up in order to sort of activate that process.
Absolutely. It doesn't just happen on its own. You have to get about, ideally it would be 30 minutes, but 20 minutes we can absolutely do the job. There's a lot of different fitness plans out there that are based around this 20-minute idea.
And the only reason we're doing 20 minutes is just because our school day is so long. I mean,
there's a lot of great demands on students' time.
Yeah. Every minute counts for us. Yeah.
And once again, this is to support the learning, and support the mood. You hear a lot of things about the mental illnesses that children are working on, and a lot of that seems to be due to screen usage. But physical activity will absolutely help address those with the release of endorphins and a myriad of other hormones.
And I've been researching too, and it sounds like that the learning could actually speed up. We could actually get more accomplished in a day because of this start to the day.
That's exactly what I'm hoping for. Fewer discipline problems because the students have had this opportunity to burn some energy, maybe better diets, hopefully better sleep. All these things we know help with learning, but we just can't seem to tackle correctly.
JFK, back in the 60s, wrote the soft American, I'll just quote it here: physical fitness is not only one of the most important keys to a healthy body, it is the basis of dynamic and creative intellectual activity. And we know that what the Greeks knew, we know what they knew, that intelligence and skill can only function at the peak of their capacity when the body is healthy and strong, and that hardy spirits and tough minds usually inhabit sound bodies.
That's absolutely right.
It's beautiful.
And if you do any kind of research on the connection between physical activity and the brain, there's going to be thousands of articles. There's going to be TED Talks that talk about how there's this creature, I can't remember the name of it, but it swims around in the ocean and it's making decisions about movement. All right. But then it's a youth adolescent stage. Then as it matures, it locks onto something and stops moving. First thing it does as soon as it stops moving is it eats its own brain. The brain is no longer necessary because it's no longer choosing to move. And so we use more neurons. I'm using more neurons doing this than thinking about the highest levels of, the cosmos or anything like that, the pre-calc and trig. I'm using more neurons just to activate my body moving. And so we need that kind of consistent movement.
So to kind of wrap things up, what are some of the, say, 3 takeaways you want our kids to have because of this program? And hopefully the goal is this is just the beginning. I hope we can do a heck of a lot more over time, but we're going to put our toe in the water here. But what do you want after this next year? What's success to you, and maybe the takeaways for the kids?
I guess the biggest thing, I'll start with that, is a different attitude about exercise. All right. Right now, it seems like it's something to be avoided, to be dreaded, to be put up with if we have to do it. But to realize that after you exercise, you feel better. If I can help students understand that they feel better after they exercise, then they're going to make it a part of their lives. And that's the goal because, we want them to exercise not just while they're at school, but also other places. The second thing I hope they realize is that what I realize when I don't exercise, I'm more irritable, I'm less patient, I'm quicker to negative judgments, and I have trouble thinking about contemplative, interesting thoughts, which is, something that Aristotle would like all of us to do.
That's right.
I don't know that I have, the third one is have a vast library of movement patterns, all right? So that they don't think the only way to exercise is to do push-ups or to do burpees. there are an almost infinite way for us to move our bodies. Okay. And everybody has kind of different ways that they like to do it. Some people like to swim, and some people like to do jujitsu, and some people like to do ballet. Those are all different things, but they're all amazing things. And just to have, somebody who can jog a couple miles and can do push-ups and squats. I mean, those are all great things, but we literally have so many different ways to move our body. And I want everybody to find one way that they can do so sustainably.
Awesome. Well, I would love to see if we could revisit this in 8 or 9 months. We'll see kind of what has happened. Well, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot. Both as a faculty, and that's the other part, is the faculty is in this too.
Right.
So our whole faculty and staff are going to be joining in. I'm actually looking to buy my uniform soon, and we may even have parents come join us, which would be great. This is
like
a unifying.
Very
enthusiastic. We've had a lot of great positive response, so it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the impact will be, and then we can have a follow-up conversation and see where we are. So thank you again. This has been a great conversation, and we look forward to welcoming you all back at the next episode of the Lady K podcast.